right. Are you serious? Are you serious? And that's where the camera is, right there.
Right.
I have with me a guest, lives right here in Jerusalem, born here in Israel, spent 17 years in Canada. No, I got
most of my life in Canada. 17
years back in Israel. But you were born here in Israel.
Right.
And so his name is Simantov, which means good sign.
Good sign.
That's a good sign already. And you're one of my YouTube subscribers.
Yes.
And a friend of mine on Facebook.
Oh, with your wife.
With my wife, anyway. I don't know if you're on. You're probably mine too, or at least
It's
my
possible,
wife.
yes.
I got so many people now. Facebook now limits me to 5,000 friends, and when you hit 5,000, they won't let you have no more. Then they have to open another Facebook page.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's crazy. So anyway, and he has a YouTube channel, and I will put the link below. Word from
Yerushalayim.
Yerushalayim.
That's how you say it in Hebrew.
Okay. And it will be in the link below, because when you hear what he has to say, I'm sure you'll want to go to his YouTube channel and hear some more words that the Lord's given him. Okay? But he has a remarkable revelation how God has been using him for the end times, starting with his mother, who on the day she died, received a word from the Lord from the book of Zachariah. So tell us what happened. Your mother was very ill.
My mother had a heart attack, and she was in a big hospital in Toronto. And on the 7th day, I went in to visit her. And when I got there, I was intercepted by the doctor, and he said, "You've got to talk to your mother, because she kept everybody awake here last night screaming." And he said, "We didn't understand what she was saying." And he said, "If she does it again tonight, we're going to have to take her out of the cardiac ward." So I went in to talk to her. I said, "What are you doing? They're going to kick you out." And she just started behaving a way I've never seen her before. She just started screaming in tongues and then started telling me. All night I heard the voice of the Lord say, "The days of Zachariah's prophecy are not coming, they're here."
Wow.
The days of Zachariah's prophecy are not coming,
they're here.
And she was screaming again, and the
then
doctors come in and they say, "That's what she was doing last night."
So she starts speaking in tongues.
She started speaking in tongues.
And she'd do that a little bit, and then she would say, "The days of Zechariah are not coming, they're here.
They're here.
The days of Zechariah are not coming, they're here."
Here, yes.
And then she would go into tongues again.
Yes.
Now she died that night, is that correct?
Yeah, as I was helping her eat supper after that, and she said, "I'm going home." I said, "Never mind, you're going to go home. You're going to get better and go home." She said, "No, I'm not afraid to die. I'm going home to the Lord." So we finished eating supper, and I left, and about 8 hours later, we got a phone call that she had passed away in the night.
Wow. So this, okay, it's a very traumatic time, you lose your mother. But after that, and you begin to reflect on this, were you a Christian then?
I was.
Okay. So when she leaves this prophecy, the time of Zechariah, the words of Zechariah are not later, they're now.
They're now.
What did you do?
It was very obvious that word, God wanted me to have that word, and I started studying the Zechariah and reading it and reading commentaries, and I could see that I kind of divided the book. I saw that some of the earlier part of the book was back in Zechariah's day, but definitely the latter chapters referred to the end days.
Yes.
And one of the things, about maybe 2 months later, I was in a church in Toronto where there was a move of God, and this man came up to me with such a burden, and never been before in my life, and he hands me his Bible. And he says, "Why?" He was wearing a kippah, Jewish believer.
Okay.
I said, "Why what?" And he pointed at the Bible. It was open to Zechariah, and he was pointing at chapter 13, verse 8 and 9.
Let me read that.
Yeah.
In Zechariah 13, 8 and 9 says, "And it shall come to pass that in all the land, saith the Lord, 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die, but the third shall be left therein. And I will bring the third part through the fire, and will refine them as silver is refined, and will try them as gold is tried. And they shall call on my name, and I will hear them. I will say, it is my people, and they shall say, the Lord is my God.
Yeah, and I looked at him, and I just, without even thinking, said, how? How can it happen? How can I said Israel's a nuclear power? How can any army come and invade Israel and do that kind of damage and kill that many people? And he just grabbed the Bible out of my hand and walked away. And I knew it was a God moment. And I said, God, what are you saying? What was that all about? And you know, a few years later, we actually made Aliyah, and I came back to Israel with my wife.
Praise
And
God.
eventually, in 2002, we were living in a community called Har Homa, which today is in dispute. America, many nations are saying it's occupied land and we can't build there. We moved there when there was virtually nobody. It was a ghost town. And shortly after we moved there, I was out on the balcony one day just observing, because I heard some machinery, and it looked like they were putting a road in right along the Bethlehem edge of the city of Bethlehem, and thought that was rather odd. And then about 2 weeks later, I was out there again looking, and I saw that they were progressing quite quickly, and I said, God, what's going on? Not really anticipating an answer.
Okay.
And I just clearly heard the Holy Spirit say, they'll not come from far away, they'll come from across the road. And I knew immediately he was answering my own question that I had.
Why? Or how?
Yes. It was how.
Yours was how. So in other words, it's not because it's going to be an enemy invading Israel.
No.
That Zachariah 13, 8 and 9 is fulfilled, but an enemy from within.
Within.
And it will be 2/3.
2/3 are going to die. And Zechariah 14 also talks about Jerusalem.
Yes, it
Being
does.
invaded, and half of the population being taken captive out of the city and half remaining.
The city of Jerusalem,
Yes.
split in half is what
Yes.
it's. Folks, don't go nowhere. Come right back with the next video, because I think we should also take a step back and find out what you think about Zechariah 12 and Jerusalem, a cup of trembling. We'll be right back in just a moment. Watch part 2. He's got a powerful word.